I've been joined by Egyptologist Dr. Meredith Brand and investigative historian Tony McMahon to talk about the new TV show, Bradley Walsh, Egypt's Cosmic Code. Thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Now, before we start on what I would consider the serious part of the interview, I have to tell you about something that happened this time last week on last week's show. So I read out a section on our entertainment show that said Bradley Walsh says he thought he was going to discover proof that the aliens built the Egyptian pyramids before travelling to the country for the new show. But since seeing the tombs firsthand, he admits that actually being there made him realise the conspiracy theories were wrong. Now, my co-presenter said, well, I won't bother to watch that then. That's a huge spoiler. And I said, well, hold on. Do you think that if we actually discovered that the aliens built the pyramids, that they would let Bradley Walsh announce it on a programme on Sky History?
I think they take him up to the spaceship and do something to him first. Or wipe his memory.
You know, it wasn't going to be on Sky News or on CNN or anything else like that. They were going to let Bradley Walsh do it. Yes, it turns out after all of this time, it was aliens that built the pyramids.
I mean, that would be something else.
That's when the men in black come round to sort you out.
Oh, no.
I have to say that I thought that this was the perfect TV show. It was funny, it was historic, it was teachable. It's the sort of TV series that I want to sit down with my kids and watch together. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So thank you. I want to say thank you so much for that because I think it's amazing.
Oh, thank you, Paul. I mean, a lot of that was Bradley was just so energetic and curious and open-minded and funny and silly and had this amazing approach to asking questions that, are kind of, kooky conspiracy theory kind of things. And he was so open to hearing all the answers, to exploring all the sites, to kind of piecing it together. And he's just like a very curious and fun person. So it eventually became silly and funny as well. So it was loads of fun.
And I think to say to your co-presenter, don't worry, because we do actually, we do explain all the extraterrestrial stuff and also the kind of super advanced civilizations that allegedly may have been involved. So all the stuff that, you find in Eric von Daniken's, blockbuster Chariots of the Gods or Graham Hancock's various books. So we kind of go through that. We set that up. And so, the viewer is kind of invited to decide, if you want, what they believe. Bradley's made up his mind. But the viewers can then also decide what they want to believe, with all the evidence put in front of them.
Well, Tony, that takes me nicely to my next question, which is, do you understand why people are so sceptical? Because it seems almost impossible to achieve what the Egyptians did.
Well, I think the thing about ancient Egypt, let's be honest, and Meredith and I, discussed this before, is that when you go to the Great Pyramid, you go and you visit it, you think, this is 4,500 years old, roughly the same age as Stonehenge. It does blow your mind. And there's something about the look and feel and the visuals and the beliefs of ancient Egypt that's just different from every other civilization. It's got that spooky feel about it, and the mummies and so on that appear in horror movies and so on. So it just touches us in a different way, appeals to us in a different way, and fascinates us. So it's kind of not surprising that some people have gone down, various kind of esoteric routes with, little green men or giants or whatever. But it doesn't kind of diminish the fact that ancient Egypt, it's so old, that blows our mind, so big, and just so fascinating, the look and feel of it.
Meredith, I'd love to ask you, other than working with Bradley and his accent, what did you actually learn from the show?
Oh, man. For me, this show was a really fun adventure in just answering the questions that people have. So I got to learn more about what other people think about the pyramids in ancient Egypt, which was really fascinating. And it was a great opportunity to just also listen to someone and hear them out and then take them around to be like, well, this is actually what I see. So for me, just learning about some of these theories, which, none of them make any sense to me. But it was still really, really interesting to learn something else about them.
And then Bradley's accent, how were you with that? Because, I mean, to be completely honest, even in England, we struggle with Bradley.
Oh, really? Oh my God, you make me feel so smart, because it was totally fine. I totally understood everything. And it was like, it was a bit of a source of like a laugh. And so I had fun with it.
No, I'm only joking. Of course, he is an absolute national treasure. Tony, with regards to everything being so precise, with regards to the angles of the pyramids and the smoothness of everything, can you just tell us a little bit about that for anybody who's maybe obviously either doesn't know about it or thinking of watching the show tonight? Can you just explain a little bit about the Egyptians' precision?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. You've got to think it's the end of the Stone Age, start of the Bronze Age. It was like the dawn of civilization, and they're building this. Take the Great Pyramid. It's got 2.5 million blocks of stone. Some of them are huge, and they're building this with the most primitive technology. We still don't know what kind of ramps. There are rival theories about what ramps they used. And the evidence, of course, has disappeared in the intervening thousands of years. But Bradley goes into the kind of measurements of the pyramid and how they correspond to the dimensions of planet Earth, and I think that was one of the reasons that he initially thought that some kind of superior intelligence must have been involved. But it's a stupendous achievement for human beings 4,500 years ago. It blows your mind when you go there, frankly.
I have to be honest with you and say that I am very much a seeing is believing type person. And again, like I say, I don't want to say that these conspiracy theories are right, but I understand why people think it's too much. There's no way, but 4,000 years ago, nowhere that it could have been built. I do have an idea for another TV show, and I'm quite happy to pitch it. And if it gets picked up, it gets picked up. That's absolutely fine. I think, can we recreate it? That's my idea. Can we recreate? Obviously, not in such of a grand size, but with the blocks being so heavy, using the old Egyptian methods, can we recreate something like this? What do you think? Am I onto something or not?
That is such a good idea, and different shows have tried to do different mini versions of pyramids. And one of the fun things we do on Cosmic Code is we tried that. We did experiments, and it was dragging stones with some guys across fields on like rollers and stuff. We tried breaking stones with hammers, and it is possible. And I think that as an archaeologist, like, for me, the seeing is believing thing is you go there and you look at the pyramid and it is completely human built. Like, it is wonky. The outer casing of fine limestone is gone, and you have these giant blocks, and they're uneven. They're not all the same size. They don't fit perfectly. There's some mortar in between some of the core blocks. Like, it is a very human monument. You go to the tomb of Tutankhamun, like we do on this show, and you look closely at the wall, and you can see the strokes of the paintbrush. You can see the person who did this. And so I think, chasing those evidence and those pieces where you actually see it. And I think Bradley said something that makes so much sense, that you just kind of have to go to Egypt and see the things. And then it becomes a lot more clear. Like, sitting and watching a YouTube video or reading something on the internet is not going to give you an actual understanding of the thing. So if you can go to Egypt, definitely go and take a look yourself.
But the next best thing, of course, is watching Bradley Walsh's Egypt Cosmic Code.
Of course. If you can't do that, or even if you've been to Egypt, you should still do this too.
Well, look, Meredith, Tony, thank you so much for talking to me. I really do appreciate it. I love the show. It was absolutely fantastic.